All right, welcome back, everybody. This is V's and O's, our new segment here on BLS, where we break down the X's and O's without acknowledging the Xavier Musketeers, which I just did. But let's talk about Villanova's slow starts. And it's something that hasn't necessarily happened every single game. I think of Georgetown, I think of UConn even this past week, and they've been able to run all over those teams early. But specifically Providence this week, I think back to St. John's as well on the road. I think back to even a game like Hofstra right before the break. And there are certainly some reasons from like a mental perspective when you think about that Hofstra game and it was right before the new year. But let's take a look at on the court, right? When that Providence game started last night, Villanova had a lot of guys out here. Eric Paschal, Phil Booth, Jalen Brunson, Omari Spellman popping out here, right? So you have 4 or 5 guys out here on the perimeter. Mikal Bridges here. Mikal Bridges starts launching threes, as does Jalen Brunson. They're not running many ball screens, et cetera, et cetera. So what I saw in the first portion of that game is simply a lot of deference from some of these guys and then not a lot of off-ball movement. That hurts this team because this is a Villanova program that prides itself on floor spacing, ball movement, and the ability to get to the rack and either finish, defer at the bucket and give it to somebody on the block, or more often than not, 29 threes, send it out deep from distance for 3. So here's where Villanova really picked it up, and it was the beginning of that 22-2 run. Omari Spellman is right here, right near the top of the key, right? He's either going to flash out here or flash out here. Jalen Brunson has the basketball guarded by a defender. So let's say Brunson's coming this way, right? Omari Spellman, screen, Brunson able to get into the lane, and right here is where Jalen Brunson is so effective because Jalen Brunson can either decide to back down his defender, he can either continue to go to the bucket, and at that point, Demir Cosby-Roundtree, Eric Paschal is down here on that weak side block. Or, as we saw more often than not, all of a sudden, Mikal Bridges pops to his favorite spot here in the corner, ball, hoop, finish. Right? So instead of Jalen Brunson standing here taking a 3 and having, as we said, the 4 guys on the outside and nobody rebounding, instead you have movement. Omari Spellman setting a screen up here. He's obviously going to roll. Instead of Brunson finding him, he finds Mikal Bridges, and now all of a sudden you have Paschal crashing weak side, you have Omari Spellman crashing up the middle, and that's an opportunity for Villanova not only to get a better three-point look, which they do, you're finding a guy in motion rather than passing it around the perimeter, but getting more offensive rebounding opportunities. All right, last concept here that I want to go over. Villanova. And by the way, I hope everybody likes our board up here. This has been a lot of fun putting this together, and we're going to be doing this each and every week now. So Villanova, they run the high ball screen well. But let's talk a little bit about transition, right? So on this side of the board, I'm not going to write on your wall, Tom, I promise. They get a rebound, let's say. Omari Spellman, Eric Paschal doing a great job. But let's say for a moment it's Omari Spellman who gets the carom. Eric Paschal has been doing a great job running the floor, specifically relative to any other big man I've seen. And he's created opportunities in transition. Another guy that you want to put into that big guy category, Mikal Bridges, right? He might not think about him as a big guy because of the game he plays, but he's 6'7", 6'8", and he has the ability to get down the floor. So what I'm seeing is a lot of hustle down the floor on all sides, wonderful outlets by these guys, and also the eyes up floor by Jalen Brunson, Phil Booth. We mentioned Phil Booth out. That's the role that we're going to need Colin Gillespie. If you're a Villanova fan, you're going to need Colin Gillespie to take on a role where he's willing to push the basketball. A lot of times you're seeing Jalen Brunson get into the lane, right? And then he'll either find somebody outside or say a cutting Eric Paschal. Those are just a couple of the concepts that I've noticed over the past couple games for Villanova. And the big difference between standing around the outside, and this isn't rocket science, folks, but standing around the outside, launching threes, flat-footed threes without guys inside versus this effective ball spacing and use of the court, as well as the backdoor cuts that you see. I think that's been a big key to Villanova playing significantly better than they did, say, against St. John's. I thought they were about to fall back into that lull against Providence, but they certainly picked it up in the second portion of the first half.